back, and we just finished watching 2020's The One and Only Ivan, currently streaming on Disney+. It's based on, I guess, true life events of a gorilla. The book is written by Katherine Applegate and has a slew of all top names. Sam Rockwell is Ivan. Shaka Khan's in it as Henrietta. Ron Funches is Murphy the Rabbit. Danny DeVito plays Bob, the lovable Bob. Angelina Jolie is Stella. Helen Mirren does a role. She's the poodle. I can't remember the poodle's name.
Snickers. Like the Snickers bar.
Which is yummy and delicious.
So,
impressions. G, you actually read the book. What did you think?
I thought that it was really good. And the book had a lot of things in common with the movie, but Mack was much more hateable in the book.
Interesting.
Which one did you like better, the book or the movie?
I think I like the movie better because it actually made me cry.
Full disclosure, I too cried in several instances. Olive G.
Because I'm a heartless monster.
True.
Well, you know, as long as you've brought it up. Olive G, what did you think of the movie?
Wow. I thought it was great.
Did you have a favorite part?
When they were finally free.
When they were finally free. That's actually very, very bittersweet. So again, this is the story. It's apparently based loosely on true life events.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, they sort of give you the cliff notes of what the true life events were, and it's somewhat similar. Obviously, less fantastical. Basically, a small gorilla, very young, is saved from poachers. It's
brought to the United States.
Filthy poachers.
He is brought to the United States, not it.
Ivan is brought to the United States, where he lives with a family, but after 3 years, he is grown and too big. And
put into some kind of sideshow.
Some mall. Yeah, he's sold to basically a mall, where he becomes an attraction at a mall.
For 27 years.
For 27 years.
He never seen the daylight.
Well, I'm sure he saw daylight, but he just wasn't allowed to roam free.
Yeah. So he probably just saw it through the windows.
Basically, the community.
He gained some attention because he started drawing.
Painting, yeah.
And then
the community protested,
said that this gorilla should be freed. And he was, where did he end up?
The zoo in Atlanta.
Atlanta Zoo. He ended up at the Atlanta Zoo. Where is he still alive?
I don't know. I was just going to say, they didn't say anything like that at the end there, but I don't know if that was too...
clips of him.
They show some clips
but
of
they
him
looked kind of old.
They look like they may be a bit old. I don't know.
Maybe 20 or plus years.
Ivan's still alive.
But
it's clearly a better place than he was.
Right. Shout out to the people of Tacoma, Washington for getting into that good trouble and doing a nice thing for the gorilla. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet. Again, full disclosure, there were several times in this film where I sort of messed it up and started weeping. I think 3. There was 3 points in this film where I started weeping.
Yeah, where someone died. That was...
Yes. You know what? We're going to try not to give too much away since
because
this is
like a new release.
Yeah, it's a new release, so
we'll try not to give away too much, but I'm sure if you've read the book, you basically have an idea of what's going to happen.
And you basically get the gist from what
the trailers. I just said, and plus the trailers, yeah.
And plus what I just said from the real life story of Ivan.
The little gorilla. What did you think?
I thought it was good. It didn't really...
You heartless monster.
It didn't make me cry. There were some sad bits to it. I'll give it that.
What did you think of the story? It flowed well? Did it need work?
The story flowed well. I mean, there were certain points where I was just kind of wondering, like, where,
things were going to go.
Where is this going? I think I may have been a little bit misled just then I thought that the whole thing about him drawing was going to be more of a focal
Important
point
piece,
and be introduced sooner into the film. And that really doesn't come into play until much, much later. Like, a lot of stuff happens before Ivan draws. I mean, even when they first introduced the fact that he draws, it's sort of like, all right, he drew something, okay, fine, put that off to the side, let's keep on with this other story.
Well, that was another thing I feel about this film. There was a lot of characters and there was a lot going on. So everyone needed to have sort of a moment, right? I mean, I think you don't see too much of her, but Stella becomes important so that when stuff happens, it's like more impactful.
Well, Stella is part of the catalyst for the
change,
the quest for freedom that
Ivan.
the animals eventually embark on. It's mainly Ivan. I mean, the other animals are just sort of along for the ride. Right. But yeah, and another thing I noticed about the movie is Bryan Cranston, who's always great. He's sort of like almost an accidental villain in the movie, in that he's not unlikable. He's not a malicious man. He's just a guy trying to make a living. He's not really abusive to the animals or terribly exploitative. Even when he's training the little baby elephant that they acquire, he gets a little angry, short-tempered at point, or frustrated. Maybe I think frustrated is probably the height of his anger. But even in that, he's not whipping any animals, and you could see he genuinely cares about all of these creatures.
In particular, Ivan. Because I feel like he's had him the longest. Yeah,
that's one thing that they changed from the true story, in that he had Ivan from the beginning.
Yeah, there's that connection.
Whereas I think in real life it was a family had him, and then they sold him to a mall. And whereas in this one it was the guy had Ivan. Ivan ruined his marriage.
I don't know if it was a marriage. I think she was like his girlfriend or something.
No, they were married.
Oh, they were. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
Ivan destroyed his marriage.
Bryan Cranston picked the gorilla over his wife. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
His wife leaves. That's sad, but yeah, it's kind of that sort of made me laugh a little bit.
Like, you are a heartless monster, taking joy in somebody's failed marriage. My goodness, right?
It's like, how do you explain that to the divorce attorney? It's just like, why are you getting divorced? My husband loves a gorilla boy. Like, that's a home wrecker. Gorilla home wrecker. And so his wife leaves, and then I
thought that sequence was very sweet. Like when they go into the past of how when Ivan was a baby.
Talks about his past, and they basically reenact the whole thing a CGI youngified Bryan Cranston and whoever his wife was.
Yeah.
And kudos to Disney for having those deep pockets. Those are some sweet effects.
Those animals were...
It looked like they were there.
It looked like they were there. Yeah. And like making animals talk in movies always
looks weird.
It usually looks crappy. I mean, they've gotten a lot better at it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of stuff. But this was like spot on. Even the parts where a human was actually physically interacting with one of these things, you didn't see it. It was seamless.
Yes, absolutely.
It looked really, really well done. That's not going to break your
enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, solid film. I mean, nothing to jump up and down about, right? But
yeah, I mean, everybody's voice acting was good.
DeVito, I think, is excellent.
DeVito was,
I love him. Frank Reynolds.
Don't worry, he wasn't doing anything.
He wasn't doing any kind of stuff like that. Yes, it's so funny though seeing him in these like family movies because even like Dumbo and now this, it's like, but you're Frank Reynolds. You are a horrible human being.
Why aren't you like completely drunk and doing something terrible?
To the animals.
I would love for him to do another movie. Like Matilda, yeah. Because Matilda is just, and we should probably review it for the reviews, but it's just such a good movie, and it's, God, I don't even want to put a number to it, because every time we look at numbers, we're just like, it can't be that old. It can't be.
Yeah, don't insult me like Alexa.
Yeah, but that is such a great film, and it still hits, like everything about that. Well, now we're moving on into a tangent, but anyway, so one and only Ivan. G, scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I give it.
Wait, we're almost done?
Yeah.
And you haven't even gotten that much of...
I think it was going to be a quick one. There really wasn't much of a deep
What?
dive on
Aren't
this.
you going to ask us what's our favorite part and who's
We do.
our favorite character?
Okay, how about
You can ask me.
You said your favorite
Who's-
part was when they
get liberated.
But
Who was your favorite character?
The rabbit.
Murphy?
The rabbit? Murphy?
He was also
What
my
was
favorite
great
character.
about Murphy?
He was funny.
He was funny,
He was
voiced by the lovely and
adorable.
amazing Ron
Ron
Funches.
I liked his little fire engine. He was able to shoot people.
But sadly,
Sadly, it got ruined, but then he got himself another one.
But it's
Yeah,
since it
a
was
yellow
orange.
one.
Yellow.
That's fine. That's
It just
fine.
came
And he
right
said,
back.
There you go.
Who was your favorite character? G?
I said my favorite character was also Murphy.
Murphy. We got a lot of bunny bias here.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep, we
Kid
have
one is a bunny
rabbit.
mom, so yes, of course. It's
Bunch
so
of
funny.
cardboard laying
The
around.
rabbit's name is Murphy, and we just saw a RoboCop this morning, so I'm just like, wouldn't it have been great if Murphy the rabbit had come out in that armor and just like, you are
Caroline,
under.
you're going with me.
That movie is so horrible.
RoboCop?
Like the scene where that giant robot comes like turning around the corner is so bad.
Ignore her. She doesn't know. RoboCop was a classic.
RoboCop is a
I'm
classic.
waiting for the musical.
Yes. Nobody steal that idea. We came up with it first here. Did you have a favorite part and character?
The president's gonna listen to this, and he's gonna say we're gonna make a movie.
Why
Kick
is
him right in the head.
Favorite
Part
He's going
and
to say
character.
it.
I would probably say I like the flashback scenes, or the scenes where Ivan would tell stories to Ruby to help
make her
fall
go
asleep. I mean, it was good. It had like a sort of almost, I guess as a parent you could view it almost even as a, your kids are eventually going to grow up and eventually you're going to have to let go. Because like I said, Mack, Bryan Cranston's character, he wasn't a bad guy. And he really wanted to keep this thing going for as long as he possibly could because it was his livelihood.
Sure.
He owned this mall and he was using this as an attraction. And he did not really see anything wrong. And as far as he was concerned, all the creatures were happy. He was treating them all very nicely.
And
he didn't realize that, you know, these are wild animals, and
They should be, yeah.
even though he wasn't keeping them in like little tiny pens, they were still locked up in a warehouse, and
they weren't big.
They were
cages.
They were in cages. These animals did not get to go outside.
And I don't think that they missed freedom because they really didn't know what freedom was. I mean,
Yeah.
Ivan was too little to even. I mean, he really had to think about what life was like in the wild. It was almost like he had blocked that all out. And some of it was very traumatic. So he lost a lot. Mm-hmm. He lost his whole family, basically.
Yeah.
I could see why you would want to, like, just taper it down and not really dwell on it.
I hate human beings a lot.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
awful.
Some of the human beings were nice.
Yeah, some of them were nice.
Little girl
Julia and her dad were decent. Mack was not a bad person.
Mack was not really a bad guy.
Yeah, he just...
And eventually he realized, like, there wasn't... When all this stuff happened and, like, you know, all the people came and like, free Ivan. There wasn't any sort of...
For the animals?
There wasn't any sort of battle. There wasn't...
Right,
like,
he wasn't like, no, I'm gonna...
Bryan Cranston wasn't, like, gnashing his teeth and screaming, "He's mine!"
He didn't go full... he didn't go full Walter White on everybody.
He didn't go Walter White on anybody. No, not at all. It was sort of like...
He is really a gem, isn't he? Bryan Cranston. I love watching him.
Ever since Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle. Or even the dentist on Seinfeld.
Even the dentist on Seinfeld.
Yeah, yeah.
He
is fantastic.
He knocks it out of the park every time.
Every time. He is like the everyman. He represents the everyman. And he's lovely and sweet and compassionate. And it's funny, but it's interesting that you made that analogy, because at the end, when he sees Ivan again, it's almost bittersweet, right? Mm-hmm. Almost like a parent, like, okay, I've raised you, and now you're out there, and I'm glad that you're well, healthy, and thriving. Yeah. So in that respect, I can see that too. I didn't catch it until you mentioned it, but that totally makes sense. It absolutely makes sense.
Because for all intents and purposes, Ivan was his son.
Right? Because he didn't have.
He raised him from a baby.
He
didn't have any kids with his wife. His wife left, and then there's the
and he obviously wasn't good at relationships.
Where, you know, the gorilla's sleeping in between him and his wife, and then after the wife's gone, it's just him and the gorilla laying in the bed.
Yeah.
And
he never actively pursued any other relationships, it looks like.
No, it was like all about, you know,
his
Ivan and him.
Circus.
And trying to stay afloat. I mean, I doubt it's cheap raising a gorilla.
True. And he had all these other animals. He had the seal and the rabbit.
An
elephant. Well, two at one point. So, yeah. But, sweet. I mean, I didn't read the book. G said that she liked the movie better than the book, which is usually not the case. It's usually the opposite, right?
I love books much more than I love movies, but this is an exception.
Okay.
Well, you said Mack was more hateable in the book.
Oh my God, he was horrible.
He was nothing like Mack in the movie?
No, not really. Like in the movie, when he's training Ruby, he's not doing anything bad, but in the book when he's training her, he actually gets so angry that he goes into his office and then he takes out something that Ivan calls a claw stick, and he waves it right above Ruby's head to threaten her, but she slams her trunk into his crotch before he can actually do anything to her.
Good for Ruby.
So yeah,
we do not tolerate any.
They definitely toned that down and changed his character.
Yeah, he was very likable in this.
Yeah.
Very, almost sad in a way, because it's like this was all he had, and then, you know, it's funny now that we're talking about it. Now we just did Ponyo not too long ago, and I just
no, please no with the Ponyo.
No. I just want to make a point. The fact that the wizard dad, I kind of see similarities there. It's like they weren't bad people. Mack wasn't a bad guy. It was just this was his situation, and he was trying to handle his business as best he could, but he couldn't see it from their point of view. Yeah. He couldn't see it from Ivan's or Ruby's or even Bob's point of view. So
Bob was actually pretty happy.
Bob was happy.
Yeah, Bob was free to go.
Yeah.
Bob was...
although Mack was... Of all the animals, Mack probably disliked Bob, I would say, up until the end, where he's like, you don't have to run, whatever.
He literally fired a man just because he didn't get the dog out of Ivan's.
Well, the guard was an
idiot.
He was completely incompetent.
He was incompetent.
Yes.
He kind of deserved to get fired.
So again, I think easy breezy summer fare. Some of it might be a little sad. I don't know if people don't want to introduce these types of topics to their kids, but I feel like general audience, I think it was rated PG. It said
It
at the
was
beginning.
rated PG. I mean,
There's no profanity. There's no
is-
violence.
There's no profanity. There's no real violence.
Well, there's violence alluded to in the wild. In Ivan's flashback.
Like there's the subject of like death and passing, but there's never any violent killing or anything like that. It's basically just then this happens, and then we something happens off screen, and then we cut back to the present or something like that.
Sure,
it's very PG.
It's very PG, yes. I mean, you won't. I mean, I think the reason I cried was just the emotion it elicited in those particular instances where I was watching it.
Yeah, and you could. It's the sadness that you see in the animal's eyes.
Yeah.
It's the reaction. The reaction to
at the third time I cried was at the end when you see Mack, kind of that whole exchange, and like Cranston's eyes, like you see the kind of like the finality of this relationship. Like he probably will never see Ivan again, right? It's like their last goodbye.
Yeah.
It was like, I've come to check on you. I see that you're healthy, well, and thriving. Have a great life. Thank you for being part of my journey. So I thought that was very sweet and sad. Because
it's basically a father letting go and letting their child have their life.
Right.
Well, it's a wild animal.
Yes, but I mean that's the story we're dealing with.
Right.
We're not dealing with two people.
Yeah.
But at some point, you kids are going to grow up, and you're going to be like, "Yeah, I want to move out." And your mother and I are just going to, we're going to have to be like, "All right, you're fully grown. You're old enough to make
on my
decisions. Hopefully, you make good decisions. Don't be a stranger."
Yes. Don't forget to call your parents every once in a while.
Because we love you.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to talk about the movie, not how we're gonna grow up.
But the movie makes you think
about those things.
Life.
Yeah.
That's why
That's
certain movies tug on certain heartstrings or
and that's the
make
beauty
you reflect upon certain aspects of life.
And that's the beauty of really good storytelling, when it impacts you in a way that you take it with you. You've learned something from the experience. You add something to your journey and you go from there. I think this was a very, very sweet movie. I mean, nothing sensational, but still very sweet. If you have an hour and whatever to spare, I say check it out. On a scale of 1 to 10, G, what would you give it?
Stop with that. Be quiet already. 8.55.
8.55. What about you, Olive G?
I would give it a 8.
An 8.
I'd give it a 7.
I was gonna say 7, 7.5 for me. I mean, it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. No, 7 is a decent score.
Yeah, 7 is a decent score. It's not a 4. It's a 7. Yeah.
It's better than it's not average. It's not better than average. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah. Good, strong voice work. Outstanding special effects. A sweet script. It wasn't anything.
Yeah, sweet.
Special.
I would say that the script was good enough. I mean, you're not going to be quoting the dialogue from this movie.
Sure. I feel like School of Rock, which Mike White also wrote, was a stronger script, but this is acceptable.
Yeah.
So, 7, 7.5. Still, I would recommend it if you
if you
have
got
time
young kids and you want to
have
watch
little
something
kids.
without fear of any sort of cursing or anything, and you want a decent story, this is the movie for you.
Do we even look at the Parents Guide?
Would there? I mean, it just came out. Would there be a?
Oh no, there's a Metacritic's guide and a critic review. So no Parents Guide actually.
It's too early for that.
So,
I don't know what I was
yep, highly recommend, and that's it from us, and we will come back with another review soon. Good night.
Good night.
Night.